Upper Deck sued Ravensburger last week, which was so big I made its own video, but let's see what else happened over the week in this news roundup for June 12th, 2023. Now, a big news story did drop last week that it was so big I made its own video. Please watch it. But to quickly sum it up, Upper Deck is suing Ravensburger and the game designer for Disney's Lorcana, stating that they stole trade secrets in order to make Disney Lorcana from their own card game that Upper Deck is developing, Rush of Ichor. They say that by stealing the game mechanics and trade secrets and rushing out Disney's Lorcana before their own card game, that Upper Deck is going to be irreparably damaged. Now, we don't have an official ruling just yet, but we do have two small updates. First, Upper Deck's president came out and said a little bit more, stating that we know this is close to the Lorcana release, but this is when we first got news of how the game was going to be played. And we know a lot of people are excited, but there needs to be a right wronged, and because we have our game and a lot of people have worked on that one too. On the other hand, we do have an official now announcement from Ravensburger. I'm going to read this one a bit more word for word to make sure I get it all. But this comes from the senior communications director of Ravensburger, stating that we at Ravensburger stand behind the integrity of our team and the originality of our products. The baseline claims filed this week are entirely without merit, and we look forward to proving them in due time. In the meantime, our focus continues to be on developing and launching a fantastic game in August. Now, the first part of that just sounds like, yeah, we did nothing wrong, but it's that last sentence I think that's important. Because if you watch my video, one of the things I was worried about was an injunction. If Upper Deck was able to successfully get, it'd mean that they wouldn't be able to do anything with Lorcana when, it's just so close to coming out. This implies that there's still full sale for the release expected at Gen Con in August, then game stores, and then in September for big box stores. Now, maybe the injunction could come later, so we'll have to wait and see, but I would say this still feels a bit more positive. I actually heard news that Gen Con tickets are being canceled for Lorcana events, and I got really scared thinking like this was the sort of death knell. However, that was a different issue involving too many people registering for the same events. You're only allowed to go to one of the tournaments. They want as many different people to play. So while there are some issues there when it comes to people in the Disney Lorcana events, that's not them canceling them. That's just a bit of an issue and problem with the description and people not being able to get as many seats in Disney Lorcana events as they would like. So as of right now, I'd say things are actually looking a little bit better for those who are fans of the game, because if the card game does come out, I'm going to find it really hard for Upper Deck to try and stop it. I mean, it's already attached to the Disney property, and if the ball gets rolling, it seems like it's a sure guarantee. Now, for Ravensburger, that doesn't mean they're in the clear. They could be forced to pay out a settlement some way, whether it's from the actual case or whether they do it behind the scenes before it actually goes to the court. So we don't know how that will work out. Regardless, I will say for fans of Lorcana, if you're worried about your pre-order, I'd say it's probably safe for now. Last week, I praised the UK Game Expo in terms of breaking the record for attendance, but now we need to focus on a failure. At many conventions, there are not only games being played, but RPGs. And now for RPGs to be an event, you have to get it approved, and those can be a little bit harder as unlike a game which is pretty solid in what it's about, RPGs can cover many different subjects, and sometimes there are certain themes or topics that conventions don't want to carry. One such person, W.H. Arthur, wanted to submit for two different RPGs. One called Sleepaway, in which you play as camp counselors trying to protect your kids from a strange evil monster, all of this with queer overtones, as well as another game, Dreams Askew, in which you play as a queer community trying to survive in the post-apocalypse. Now, both of these have LGBTQ and queerness themes, but, in terms of actually what's going on, it's set in a camp with a monster and post-apocalypse. Nothing I don't think is weird or strange in the world of RPG settings. However, it doesn't seem that was the case when getting approval. Dream Askew was actually denied. With Sleepaway, it seems that was approved, but they removed any mention of queerness in the description. Now, W.H. Arthur brought this up on Twitter and actually got a response from the head of the UK Game Expo. They looked at and tried to find out what was going on, and they said, yeah, this is wrong. This isn't how it's supposed to go. The reasoning behind this apparently is twofold. The first one is the UK Game Expo, as many conventions have rules stating that they don't want RPGs that deal with heavy sexual content. Now, this isn't meant to be for sexual orientation. This is meant to focus on more like extremely graphic things, which it doesn't matter what your orientation is. There's just sexual graphic events, the things that would probably get an X rating in a video games. Neither of these aren't meant to tackle that, so that rule shouldn't have stopped either of these RPGs from being playable. So they believe that the person checking this over made that mistake. Secondly, it appears that the people also didn't do the right checks and balances. Like, it sounded like this was supposed to go up the chain of command and didn't. Where if someone was to misunderstand what is approved and not approved, that someone else could check it over and then make sure that it's like this is the right decision or wrong decision. Regardless, the UK Game Expo has apologized profusely, stating that this isn't what they want. They want the convention to be open as well as diverse. So they apologize and they want to make sure that they can fix this and make it so that this doesn't happen again in the future. So we'll have to wait and see, but maybe if we're lucky, both of these RPGs will now get a bit more of a spotlight role come next UK Game Expo. Trading card games in terms of being used as almost stocks has definitely increased over the last few years, especially over the pandemic, where a lot of people decided that is where they're going to put their speculation and try to make the most money rather than simply playing the game. This, of course, is not new for trading card games, but it definitely has risen over the last few years, in my opinion. And, of course, card game companies are going to take advantage of it. Magic the Gathering, over the last few sets, have released cards that are serialized with a little number in it. I've brought this up before in a news story, as usually it's like 1 to 500, but in the newest set, based on Lord of the Rings, they're going to have a one-of-one special Lord of the Rings card. This is the One Ring. It is not technically exclusive in the sense that this is only the One Ring card. There'll be regular One Ring cards, but there's going to be one printing of one Ring card. I'm using one way too much, but bear with me. That has unique art and specific font. Now, the One Ring will be available in collector booster packs, and a lot of people have been putting out their bounties, but a new one has made quite a bit of stir as it may be breaking records when it comes to trading cards. The highest bid now for the One Ring is $1 million. This is quite a bit, and I'm sure it's going to cause a lot of people now to try to crack those collector booster packs in order to see if they can get that winning lottery ticket. Now, if you are planning to do this, which I don't know if I suggest doing so, I want to make sure you understand there are two kinds of collector booster packs with only one of them possibly having the ring. First, they will only be in English collector booster packs, so keep that in mind. Second, there's going to be collector booster packs and special edition collector booster packs. If you see the word special or anything like that, those will not contain the ring. It's the normal collector booster packs which have a chance to get you that sweet $1 million card. Now, I believe also this bounty has a time limit, so it's not like if you get it in a year's time that you'll be able to collect on it. Granted, holding on it for value, maybe it'll hit even more than $1 million. We'll have to wait and see. But regardless, if you are going to take part in this, good luck hunting, I guess. Hasbro has plenty of properties, including one beloved by board gamers, one that you may know by Heroscape. This old game almost came back in Hasbro's HasLab, I think it's what they called their Kickstarter thing, where they tried to get enough for a new reboot for Heroscape. They did not make the amount they wanted, and they said they were shelving it, and they weren't looking to remake the game anytime soon. It seems the wording there was specific as they weren't, not that the game wasn't going to be reproduced, as they actually have just licensed it off to Renegade Game Studios. Renegade has been taking on multiple Hasbro properties and making their own versions under their licensee, their label, and Heroscape will now be one of them. We don't know much, but what we do know is first, they're going to be reprinting classic and new stuff, so there isn't just a reboot. And they stated that they're going to be trying to make a big competitive scene with both online play and in stores. Obviously, that's very good if you look at plenty of card games that they tend to survive because they get a tournament scene, and it's a great way to introduce new people. But we don't know how it's going to be added to the marketplace. We don't know whether Renegade's going to actually take this to Game Founder Kickstarter and try again with a project, or will it go straight to game shelves? Regardless, I know a lot of people are happy to see that this game didn't die off because of the failed HasLab attempt, and that Renegade Game Studios, who already makes plenty of games, is going to take a crack at it, which is definitely someone at least you can have a bit more faith with. Nothing against Hasbro, but they've got so many other things going on. It's giving a game to a game company is definitely one I think that's going to make a lot of people feel a bit better. So let me know if you're looking forward to the third reincarnation, maybe or even more, of Heroscape. Now on to game announcements. First, we have a Smurf-based board game, Smurf Hidden Village. This actually comes from the designers of the Dead Cell board game. So definitely a very interesting jump from this video game to this old, light, beloved cartoon show. So we'll see how that goes. Then we also have a new Versus set coming out. So Upper Deck's still making Versus. We don't know about the Russia core. This one, though, is going to be based on the Marvel Zombies. Then Munchkins has a new Witch expansion coming out, as well as a new Disney Villainous expansion that will feature Oogie Boogie. And then we have an expansion for the G.I. Joe deck building game. This one is actually going to be a campaign expansion, which seems to be based on the USS Flag, which I believe is the huge ship, which broke a lot of toy records for just being such a giant toy back when G.I. Joe first came out. And finally, pre-orders have opened up for the War of the Ring, the card game expansion Against the Shadow. You can pre-order it now and expect the game come later this fall. But that is all the news we have this week. Let me know your thoughts on the stories and announcements. Are you excited for DisneyWorld? Do you feel like it's going to be a safe bet? We're going to keep cruising, or am I starting to get a bit too optimistic on the story? And of course, any of those announcements, are you excited for them? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. But for now, thank you for tuning in to this news roundup, and I'll see you next week.